I remember as a child, and my parents would do things that were, I felt, was so incredibly unfair, and to this day I do believe they were. And I remember just sitting in my room on my own and just hating them, being full of hatred and anger, and just sitting there, and the tension through my body, and the amount of hate that I had for them, and I remember my sister and my brother as well. And it makes sense because I was in a situation where I was totally powerless. But I was smart enough to see that it was unfair, that they were treating other people in ways that they weren't treating me, that they were treating me in ways that were unreasonable and unfair. Looking back and looking at myself now, ultimately, fundamentally what it was I was experiencing rejection, grief, loss by having been rejected by my parents. I needed to be given love and patience and understanding and consideration, but I just didn't get any of that. This experience for a child and a human in general is initially and primarily of loss, of grief, of shame. There can be fear, many vulnerable emotions that make us feel unsafe. And in the family home that I had when I was young, it was not safe to experience these emotions. If I was to show shame, guilt, sadness, regret, grief, all these things, these made me vulnerable to attack by my unhealthy mother and stepfather. So I chose, not consciously, instinctively, to make myself powerful. And the way I did that was through anger, hate, irritation. It gives you power where there is none. And it makes sense. But then for the rest of my life, I became what I saw as an angry person. I angered very easily. I did things out of anger that I regret. I said things. And to this day, I still can be triggered quite easily. I don't fly off the handle. I'm able to put a cap on it and stuff, because that's what society needs of me, right? Working and friendships, etc. But it's still there, and it still seems to be the primary emotion which I find it easy to operate out of, which is a sense of anger, irritation, hate in some sense. These are all the same thing. It's a protective mechanism. Blame, criticism, these all come from the same place, which is anger. But as I grow older, what I understand, and from what I just said, is you can see that the anger is always protecting something. It is protecting something vulnerable, scary, difficult, confusing, painful, that I just don't want to feel, or I feel unsafe to feel. So it gives me a sense of protection and power in the world, ultimately within myself. I believe the way out of this is to identify when you are angry and realize that there's something else going on. Someone says or does something, you feel anger. If anger is your first response, then we need to not be convinced by it, and to look at what the anger is protecting. Maybe you're jealous, envy of them. Or maybe you're scared of losing them. You're scared of them not liking you. They have triggered your shame about yourself. You actually feel that you're not good enough. They triggered that, and then you get angry. But really the feeling is that I'm not good enough. There's shame. That is what we need to feel. I believe it can also be anger that has been left over from a prior time. That someone has made you angry when you're younger, made you feel something, and it just hasn't been processed fully, so this situation or person has triggered that inside you. For some reason, it has triggered the memory. For me, a lot of these memories are very vulnerable. So things like when I can get at them, they come out very vulnerably. It can be things like about your mother and father. Maybe you miss them. Maybe you never got what you wanted, but you loved them and they never loved you. You just really vulnerable things like that can underlie everything. I believe that we need to grieve and feel all these vulnerable emotions, and then the anger should reduce. It is only there to protect you from them. And once they're gone, the anger will be more authentic. If someone crosses some kind of safety boundary or whatever, the anger comes up to protect you. But at the moment, we live in a place where we are just reacting to the past. Or we're not processing the correct emotion because we're scared of it, or it's too comfortable, or we can't see it. We don't have the experience or even the skills to see it. The skill can be improved. I have definitely improved this skill over time. I just make it a habit whenever I get angry to see what it's protecting. A lot of the time this becomes grief. Very quickly I see there's something inside, and if I look in the right way and I'm in the right moments, I sometimes will grieve something very childish, very, very early in my life. I don't have the exact memory, but you feel it. The words that come out and the experience is of something very early in life. So I hope that helps, guys. Thanks.